Episode 5, The Worker. And that is our role as guys. And St. Joseph has a special title, Joseph the Worker. And his feast is May 1st. I want to tell you a little bit about where that came from. May 1st is International Workers' Day. It was started as a way of workers joining together to celebrate their force because workers had been abused by business, factory owners, the people that own the means of production, and workers were always taken advantage of. And this was their day to bond. And then what happened with the communist movement? It was it is still, I guess, a movement of raising up workers. But it's also a godless system, as it was unfolded in Russia and China and Cuba and other places. So the Catholic Church said, we have a lot to say about work and workers, and we have an amazing role model in St. Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus, who was a carpenter, a man who worked with his hands. So that's why May 1st is the feast of St. Joseph the Worker. And in a few moments, you're going to watch a pretty cool discussion I had with my brother, Joe, who is a very hard worker. Given his life to Christ, joined the Brotherhood at 18 years old, right out of high school, and has been faithful to Jesus as a hard worker. And you're going to see that what surprised me is just how much his service of God is being faithful in his serving of God is beyond the role that most people would see him in. But anyway, we're all here to get our hands dirty. Carpentry is hard physical work. Any depiction of Jesus or Joseph, okay, in any kind of a meek and mild and kind of lame way, that always those stupid statues of, I don't want to say stupid, but the statues of Joseph holding a flower. Like, what kind of real man walks around holding a flower? But he was a man who worked with his hands. He was definitely a physical guy, probably really strong physically, and a great role model for guys. To work hard for those you love. My father did this. The man was a factory worker, worked morning, noon, and night, never complained. And I think that's where I get my motivation. People say to me, Tony, how do you do 600 programs a year, morning, noon, and night? And I have it in my genes, in my blood from my dad, who taught me, you love people, you get your hands dirty for them. You give them everything you've got. And we men are called to live those kinds of lives. And no matter what field of work that God gives us to do, we're all contributing something of value. This is not about being up on the big stage. Some people get to play there, but the most humble guy who goes out and collects the trash or, fixes things and works on cars and does whatever, that work is noble. And that guy is noble and a beloved son of God. So go out there and work hard. Be willing to work hard. There's a big message in our culture to, try and do as little as possible. Try to find a scheme of, supporting yourself, getting some money that's just like, when you want it to work too hard. That's all we men are made for. Get out there and work. Okay? Enjoy the discussion with me and my brother. Take care. God bless you. Hi. So we're in the middle of our 5th video in Manpower, and we're talking about the connection of men to work and the connection to St. Joseph. And St. Joseph is known as the patron of workers. And in this video, I'm really happy and excited to be having a conversation with my brother, Joe, who is famous to a lot of people. Maybe some of you watching this will know him. He's the principal of Chaminade. He's my brother biologically, and he's a religious brother. And Joe, thanks for being part of this series and this section on St. Joseph the Worker.
Great to be here. Anything we can do to help the mission along.
Well, okay. Hey, people just heard that you're a principal of a school, and I'm sure most people have
the notion of a principal is the guy sitting behind the desk doing the paperwork and managing the overall structure. But I happen to know that they would be very wrong if they thought of you in that light. Now, I know of a couple of things that you do. I know that you've done farming, gardening kind of stuff. I know that you've kept your hand in the classroom. I think, don't you teach like every semester a couple of classes just to keep close to where the kids are at? And then you've also ran a religion program out of a church. Is there anything that you've been doing on a physical work level that maybe I don't know about?
I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. That's what makes me qualified for principal, perhaps. Yeah, no, Tony, it's great to be here and share any thoughts I can to help people have a good understanding of what is the purpose of work and the value of work. And you're right. As a religious, we have always said, as a religious brother, we always say we live by the work of our hands. As part of the vow of poverty, that we would help and work out. So all the brothers, we all cook. We all, I have a day on tour of cooking. We all do the work and repairs of the school here. I've done masonry in the school. It was one of my first Italian tasks, if you will, going back to our roots, being able to do masonry. One of my particular things I have done is, I think I have carpeted every single classroom and office in this building by now. So it keeps us grounded and keeps us, that we work here, putting down carpet on all the floors in the building. So everyone walks all over my work. It's a great feeling. Working also keeps you grounded. It keeps you out of your head, and it puts you in touch with the average person, so that we're never disconnected from what the average person is doing. I'm not above everybody else. So in addition to the teaching and so forth, and then we have, as a school, we have a policy that every administrator has to teach at least one class. And I joined as a brother. We're a teaching order, and that's our first mission, is to teach and educate the kids. So I have two classes. So in addition to principal, so I'm down there in the classroom like the average teacher. So anything that happens in the classroom, I'm right there with the kids. I know what they're going through. I know what the teachers are going through. So again, working by the work of our hands, the value of, you're not freeloading off of anybody, and you're working like the average person is working, and the dignity of work then is important.
Wow. I can't believe that you've actually carpeted. You have a huge facility that you did every floor. That's pretty mind-boggling.
It's taken me a couple of years, but yeah.
Wow. That's really something. Well, listen, you mentioned a number of different things. By any chance, is there have you done any carpentry, like your namesake?
The closest the closest I've come with St. Joseph is a statue of carpentry. He has, you ever see statues of St. Joseph with the L square, the carpenter's square? Right. I use it all the time for carpeting to make my cuts. So that's pretty close to carpentry. I do carpeting, not carpentry. But okay. I've done some carpentry in the sense of not working with wood so much. It's like sheetrocking. I've done a lot of sheetrocking and ceiling tiles, which is cutting. Those are all carpentry jobs, probably the St. Joseph never imagined doing in his day and age. So unfortunately, I do a different kind of work from St. Joseph, but it's not too far off.
Got you. Well,
listen, I use him as a model, as a worker.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask you about. I mean, he is your namesake, and living a religious life. Like, what does he mean to you, as far as how you go about your life and about your vocation? And what might he inspire some of the young men and men of all ages watching this video as well?
Yeah, it's sort of funny because we have to pick a feast day for us as brothers. So there's two feast days for St. Joseph. And I had always picked St. Joseph March 19th, which is St. Joseph, the husband of Mary, the patron of the church, and so on. And then I think it was Pius XII who put in the other new day, May 1st, which is St. Joseph the worker. And it wasn't my original patron saint day. I picked the other one, the husband of Joseph, father of Jesus. But I'm probably a lot closer to St. Joseph the worker in terms of having a very strong work ethic and taking work as a serious component of who we are and what we are. And I think St. Joseph gives a good perspective on what is the role and the value of work. And that's why I think his good title is St. Joseph the Worker. So, for example, I always see St. Joseph saying that there's a dignity in the work that you do. That work is an expression of God who created. God worked for 6 days. I mean, not to take the story literally in creation, but God worked 6 days. So working is a thing of God. Creating is a work of God. And therefore, whenever I work, whatever men work, whatever we work, we're participating in that creation. And there's a dignity to that. And I think our society has kind of lost the value and the dignity of work. So many things are just like, slipshod or cheap or disposable or meaningless. A lot of people don't find me. And St. Joseph teaches us that every job is not too small. Every job has meaning and importance and significance because you're contributing in the work of God and you're contributing to society. You're helping your neighbor, you're helping your family, like many dads work to supply for the family. I mean, our dad, worked forever, spent most of his life working to provide for us as a family. So there is a value. There's nothing beneath us. So like I do carpeting. It's not beneath me, the principal or brother or religious, to do carpeting. The kids would come by and see you on the ground. Like, is that Brother Joe carpeting on the ground, getting sweaty and dirty? Yeah, because there's a value to the work. I'm providing a service for the school, for the kids. So St. Joseph teaches there's no work that's beneath us. To take pride and value in whatever it is. If you're, there used to be the expression, if you're sweep, cleaner, be the best sweep cleaner, garbage man, be the best garbage man. There is no test. It's the value and the dignity of the work. And to see beyond what it is you got, the product, it's what you're doing with that. I'm contributing to my family, contributing to society, I'm contributing to the school. So there is a value and a dignity to work. And that's what gives the work meaning. And St. Joseph, he was a carpenter. And the second highest saint in the church. You didn't have to be the Pope. You didn't have to be, he wasn't even St. Peter. He was just a simple carpenter who's never quoted at all in the entire Bible. He just went about his work, providing for his family, doing his job, and doing the best. And Jesus caught that ethic from him. So I see St. Joseph as a huge model for the value of work and how we see that. And I think our society can use that image these days because it's not about the bucks you bring in. It's not about the prestige. It's not about the title of your job or work. Too many of us see work as a job and not an expression of who we are.
Joe, how do you discover that? I remember that you went into the Brotherhood right out of high school. Didn't you graduate one day and go in the very next? And I stupidly, I think, gave you a hard time at the time, thinking why don't you go out and do a few other things before you join this? And looking back on it, I was an idiot. But you clearly knew what you were meant to do. You had been faithful to this for over 40, 50 years or whatever.
Well, since 78, you can do the math.
How much?
42 years, I think that is.
You were the math teacher. I was never any good at that. Yeah. So how did you know so clearly, at 18 or maybe even earlier, that what was meant to fuel you for your mission? You were here to do this. And within this mission of being a brother, you've had several different missions. But, but it's been within that realm of that commitment. There's going to be young people watching this video series, and they may be wondering, you talked about, work is not just about a job and a paycheck. It's about your mission. Yeah, I love that. That. But can you give any tips for where do you find that? Where does it come from?
I got to be honest with you, Tony. It was, it basically comes down to in our hearts is this pursuit for happiness. And what will make us happy. And, he goes back to the catechism, to be with God, as it were. And so I think that book, puts it well. He says, it's where there's a crossroad between where God needs and wants you that connects with your best talents and interests. So I think the first part of the mission of finding what your mission in life is, what does God want for us to be happy in this world so that we can be with him in the next? And the first is find out what's you, who's you. Like, for example, you have this incredible talent and charism for touching hearts and souls through retreat works and these casts and so forth. That's a gift and a talent, and it's fulfilling the mission of God. And I had the same kind of, you never really know for sure at first. But it's almost like standing at the edge of the pool. You got to dive in at some point. So what were my talents? I always loved family, and religious life was family. I always loved teaching and work with the kids. I was teaching CCD when I was in 8th grade. I was teaching the 6th grade class. I was filling in for a teacher and wound up teaching. And I said, I love doing that. I love working with kids. I love teaching and educating. So it was like where these crossroads came together with and a devotion to Mary. I always had a great devotion to Mary as our mother and our model. And here, okay, well, down the block from our house was this Marianist community with the apostolic work of education, and a community as a family with 1,700 kids. I'm having the time of my life, kind of a thing. So you have to find out what your gifts and talents are that God has given, and they're all different. And I wouldn't say it is for everybody, but it definitely is for some.
Yeah.
And then pursue it, question it, challenge it, and get involved and jump in and ask for God's grace. I will say this, though, you were not crazy about it at first, but I clearly remember you saying to me in like September, October, which was like 3 months later, saying, you clearly are happy doing this. This is clearly right for you. And I think that's the catch, is so many people are miserable in the work that they do. They're not doing what God intended for them to do. So it's not their talents. It may be their talent and ability, but it's not where God needs us. Or it may be where God needs us, but we don't want to use the talents for that. So there's something for everybody. And St. John Newman said, I think he has that prayer that God has created us for a purpose in life, and it's not the same for everybody, and it's destined for just us. So, and I think that's the difference also. If I can go back to St. Joseph, I don't think he ever saw carpentry as his job. So many of us have jobs, or when I grow up, like I talk to our kids, and they like, and I grow up, I want to be an accountant, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a doctor, and well, that's what you want to do. What do you want to be, and why do you want to be it? That's your mission and vocation. There's the distinction there between a job and a vocation. Your call, vocare in Latin, is to be called, not just do and not just produce. It's where are you meant to fit in God's plan? And I think it has to do not just about God and the kingdom, has to be about people. Where are you touching the lives of people with your gifts and your talents? And that's your mission. And good luck trying to find it, because it takes a while. It takes a lot of grace. I think a lot of people don't do this. They don't pray about it either. And so many societal outside influences are telling us, this is what you want to do. This is what everybody's doing. And I find that in school so many times. Okay, everyone's going to do this, or you're going to all be this, you're all going to be that. And it's like, no. Are you going to be happy doing that? So many kids, when they choose colleges, it's the same idea. So many of us are stuck now. Well, that's what everybody in my family did. Lord knows in our family, I don't think there are two of us that did the same thing. So there's definitely a different mission and purpose of doing that. Some fulfill it like me in religious life. Some are priests. Some are like yourself, where you're the single ministry. And our brothers and sisters, some of them fulfill that mission in the context of a family life. So those are some hints on how to find it, how to find what God is calling us to do, where there's that intersection of what are your gifts and talents, and where is God's greatest needs, and how do they intersect?
And some people just never think to ask that big question, I recently was talking to somebody I know had 12 years of Catholic education, and I said, and they're really agonizing over what am I supposed to do with my life? And I said, well, did you ask Jesus what he would like to do with you and through you? Oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, so you're right. They don't think to pray.
And, not just pray, but also talk to other people. That know you and say, no, that you would be terrible at that. That's not you. Sometimes we don't know ourselves enough to do, so we don't ask others. Like, I know when I was first becoming a brother, one of the brothers said, I think you would make a good religious. I see a vocation in you. And I remember when he mentioned that to me, it's like, are you kidding me? I come from a family of 9 kids. I want to have a big family, big Italian family, and all of that. I don't want to give any of that up, And he says, no, I think you really need to think about it. And well, here I am 42 years later. I guess he was right.
He was right. Yeah, I hope you give him a bonus or something for being right about that. Jeez.
That's what recruiters are made of.
You mentioned that, in our family, I think everyone holds a work ethic, that it's not just enough to be doing something, but to put your whole heart and soul into it, to give whatever it is that you're working at, give it all you've got. And there's not a lot of that in the world right now. How do you think we all got it in our family, and and maybe a lot of others don't, or where could they discover it or cultivate it?
It's really hard, Tony, I think, in our day and age, because it goes back to my original point of value of work. The ethic of work comes with the value of work. And I think we see so much of materialism in our society. Everything is product oriented. It's the thing that matters and not the process that's involved in it. So that work ethic, it was always. I always remember this little ditty, and I'm not exactly sure who gave it to us. But if a task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all. And there were very few things that went undone. That was a work ethic, if you will. But those are the simple things. Like I think it's not so much taught as it is caught. Like I look at our family, and we're not perfect. And mom and dad are not perfect people, but we get that from them. The commitment, like mom's commitment to the family. 9 children, that is absolute hell. People have a hard time raising 2 and 3 kids today. And she gave it her heart and soul, mistakes and things and so forth. You learn as you go. You're the oldest one. I'm the middle child. So I got a lot of practice by the time I came along. But that's a work ethic in terms of it's a labor of love. That you do things with, like Mother Teresa says, do small things with great love. And that's a work ethic. Do you take pride in what you do? Dad would have the same thing. He would see the work in a bigger context. It's not just bringing home a paycheck. It's not just all the nice things that your work can make and give you. It's what is the purpose and value. It was like, for example, Dad was to provide for people. I see my work as an expression of the community life, of my commitment to poverty, of my apostolate, of working in the mission. It's an expression of something bigger than just the bottom line. In our society, it's all about the bottom line. So the work ethic is not as much, I just go to work, I do this, I do that, and I go home, and there's no pride in what I do. And that creates an ethic. It's the love of what you do that generates it. You can see that in people. If you're people who love what they do, it's beautiful. Think of an artist. You don't produce a beautiful piece of art if you're not into it. And all the detail and work that has to go into you'll sweat the small stuff, all those little things that you learn by seeing and doing with people. And to go back to St. Joseph, he was in the carpenter shop with Jesus. I'm not sure which way that learning process had to be going. Can you imagine telling your son, this is the way we turn the lathe, and Jesus saying, well, I think, and like, well, you're going to argue with the Son of God? But that's more important than producing a nice table. But the table is the expression of you. And that creates a work ethic that I don't think so many of us see, that this is an extension or an expression of me, of who I am and who you are.
Right.
Would you give a piece of garbage to somebody that you produce? And the answer is, yeah, it depends on how much I can get for it.
Right. And maybe those who have not had role models in their life, to awaken them to the importance of that work ethic, maybe they could find in St. Joseph an inspiration, because he certainly had that love. Definitely. He had that love, that desire to provide for, the Mother of God and the Son of God. So he can certainly help us find that.
And I think on that point too is that so much of work is focused on ourselves and not the other. And St. Joseph was clearly not about himself. Everything he did, and his work in particular, was to produce for other people. A carpenter never makes stuff for themselves. It's always for others. And to provide, and the result of it was to provide for his family. So I don't think there was any garbage that was coming out of Joe's carpenter shop, cheap wood and cutting corners and things like that in his shop, because he took, that's carpentry. That's the nature of the carpenter.
Right. No, it's great. Hey, Joe, anything else on St. Joseph? We're good?
I think that if I could, Tony, if I just make one other point with St. Joseph and the work, and I kind of mentioned this before, because I think it's really important, and I see this in St. Joseph, is that it almost goes back to St. Martha and St. Mary, that contrast between the busy activity of Martha and Mary with Jesus. And I think that one of the lessons I've always learned from St. Joseph, I always try and imagine, what was it like being St. Joseph in that carpenter shop with his son Jesus? How many fathers and sons had that working connection where you're doing, and it's not about producing a table or a chair, whatever it is he was making. It was that dynamics of the interpersonal relationship between Jesus and Joseph. And to be, what a privileged position for St. Joseph to be in the presence of the Son of God and Jesus to learn from his father. The relationship is more important than the activity. And I think that's something we have totally lost in all the work and activity we do. Whether we're playing sports on a team, we lose sight of who the people are with us. And St. Joseph can teach us that you're always in the presence of God. And so many times we miss that, whether we're playing a sport on a field or doing a task or a job or an activity. We get so focused on the activity and the product, we miss the people in between. And St. Joseph kind of reminds us the work isn't about the work so much as it about the people that you're doing it with and for.
Yeah. They say that in an earlier time, many sons went to work with their fathers, and that's where, it's that bonding thing that happens where boys learn how to be men. They're just absorbing.
Yeah.
Men. They're absorbing their energy. They're absorbing the little things that they do and how you handle situations. And it is something that's been lost for a long time now.
Yeah. That aspect of fathering and mentoring. It's just, so you would say it's not taught, it's caught.
Yeah, and it's something that I enjoy in the work that I do as a youth minister and a retreat director, and I'm sure you do it all the time in your work at the school.
It's so rewarding doing that as a teacher, and that's why as principal, to help keep this work going, that's why after 21 years I'm still doing it, I guess.
Principal for life, huh? Yeah. Joe, I can't thank you enough. I really enjoyed this. And I think this is going to be a big help to anybody watching it. I think they'll find it inspiring.
Well, Tony, there's that expression, ite Saint Joseph, go to Joseph. So he's a good model for people and for guys.
Well, I think so, and I hope so, and I hope this whole series, helps a lot of men. And I know that if nothing else, this is the first one of the 9 that I'm filming.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, this is the first one, and boy, you're setting a pretty high standard. I'm sure they'll all be good. The people I picked were all good, but this was really
that's great. Anything to help it along, you know what I mean? We're all in this together.
All right, Joe. Thanks so much. Love you, and keep up the good work.
Tony, thanks. Good luck on the mission.
All right, thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Hail, guardian of the Redeemer, spouse of the Blessed Virgin Mary. To you God entrusted his only Son. In you Mary placed her trust. With you Christ became man. Blessed Joseph, to us too show yourself a father and guide us in the path of life. Obtain for us grace, mercy, and courage, and defend us from every evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.